Hello beloved souls, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Podcasts channel. This channel is all about good vibes, positive energy, and meaningful conversations. To keep this space welcoming for everyone, we kindly ask that comments stay respectful, kind, and in the spirit of the content shared here. We reserve the right to delete any comments that don't align with this intention. No hard feelings, just protecting the vibe. Thanks for being here and spreading the light. Please be cautious of anyone claiming to represent Spiritual Podcast and asking you for money, donations, or personal information. We will never ask you for money through comments, messages, or DMs. All official updates and content come only from this channel. If you see suspicious activity, please report it immediately. Stay safe and thank you for being part of our community. If you enjoy the video and its content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Please be kind to other viewers of the channel. The video is about to start.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something pretty fundamental, I think. That deep-seated fear many of us have, the fear of being alone, maybe unloved, or just not good enough.
Yeah, it's a big one. And we've got some interesting sources today, mostly centered around a really powerful spiritual discussion. But what's fascinating is how it connects these sort of spiritual ideas with very practical modern psychology.
Exactly. It's not just theory. We're looking at how this discussion uses concepts from clinical psychology, but also scripture to tackle this core human pain, that feeling of guilt, unworthiness.
That's the heart of it. And the core message, the big takeaway from these sources is this incredibly strong affirmation drawn from scripture that nothing will separate us from the love of God. A really bold guarantee.
Right. So our mission basically is to unpack why we feel this pain. What are the actual psychological ways we push love away? And then crucially, what steps do these sources suggest for, finding some peace, getting reconnected?
Moving from that relentless inner critic.
Oh yeah, that voice.
That self-accusation towards something more like taking responsibility and finding gratitude, acceptance.
That's the path we're tracing.
And the sources, they pinpoint the conflict immediately. They say, okay, there's this external spiritual promise, God is for us, but the real enemy, the toughest one, it's usually inside.
Ourselves.
Yeah, our own minds. That part of us that's always putting ourselves down, comparing, telling us we messed up. That's what builds the wall, really, the self-inflicted stuff.
Okay, let's dig into that internal battleground then, because, as the sources note, this kind of deep pain, this anguish and guilt, it's everywhere. You hear it in counseling sessions, obviously, but also just talking to people, friends, neighbors.
It's incredibly common. And it's important to see how this guilt really shows up. It's not just, oh, I feel bad about that thing I did. It's often lived as this deep feeling of non-merit.
Non-merit, like you don't deserve anything good.
Exactly. People really internalize this belief that fundamentally they aren't worthy of love or success or even the good things they already have. Sometimes they even maybe unconsciously sabotage things because deep down they feel they haven't earned it.
Wow. Okay. And this connects to a really key psychological idea from the sources, doesn't it? The engine driving this feeling. Monoidismo? Did I say that right?
Yeah, monoidismo. It literally means single idea. It's a term they use for what, in cognitive therapy we might call rumination, or these automatic negative thoughts. It's like one single accusatory thought takes over everything.
Like a broken record in your head.
Precisely. It just plays on a loop, gets stuck in this groove.
And it tends to play one of two tracks, right? Either pointing inwards or outwards.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Track one is the internal accuser. You're worthless. How could you have messed that up so badly? You're just not cut out for this. It attacks your sense of self, your ability.
And track two.
Track two flips it outwards. They're ridiculous! How could they treat me like that? I'll never forgive them. So all your mental energy goes into blaming someone else. Often, maybe, to avoid looking at your own stuff.
But either way, whether you're beating yourself up or focusing on how someone else wronged you, the result's the same, isn't it? It kind of walls you off.
It absolutely does. It creates this psychological separation. It stops you from actually seeing or feeling the good things available in life. If everything is filtered through, I'm worthless, or they wronged me, you just can't register love or opportunity or even moments of protection when they happen.
Which makes the contrast the sources draw even more powerful, setting that relentless inner noise against Paul's assertion that just absolute conviction of if God is for us, who can be against us?
It's meant to be the ultimate pattern interrupt for that monoidism, that single negative thought. Paul's belief here is total. And look how he lists everything he can think of.
Yeah, the list is something else.
Right. mundane things, cosmic things. He's trying to cover every possible reason we might feel separated. Death, life, angels, principalities, powers, things present, things to come.
Height, depth, like physical space, existential space.
Any other creature. It's like he's trying to anticipate every single fear we could possibly invent down through the ages to say, nope, not even that can break the connection.
It feels incredibly comprehensive. He's tackling anxiety about time, present, future, and just deep existential dread.
He really is. But here's a critical point the source makes, and it challenges how we often think about conversion, you know? Paul didn't just get this conviction in that one famous flash on the road to Damascus.
Oh, right. That was the starting point.
That was the call, yeah. But the actual transformation, from Saul the persecutor to Paul the apostle who could write this with such certainty, that was a lifelong process. It took work, it took struggle.
So it wasn't instant magic.
No. And that's actually good news, in a way. It means this kind of deep conviction, this peace, it's something we can reach through dedicated effort, through challenging that single idea over time, not just by waiting for lightning to strike. It involves real psychological work.
That reframing is huge. It's not about waiting for a miracle, but committing to the work. And that idea of effort, it leads right into the next big barrier the sources talk about, doesn't it? What they call the missing metric.
Yes, exactly. This failure to kind of accurately measure what we actually possess.
Our tendency to focus on lack.
Right. But first, we need to be clear on what the source means by plenitude. Because today, we often mix that up with, having lots of money or possessions.
Material wealth.
Yeah. And the source is adamant that's not it. Plenitude in this context is described as a really deep internal state of gratitude. It comes from recognizing that just being alive, having this day, is itself a miracle.
But we suffer from what they call the cost of ignoring the obvious. We're always counting what's missing, right? What we don't have, what went wrong, what someone else has.
Instead of adding up the excess that's already here, the things we have in abundance but take for granted.
And there's that really striking financial metaphor they use to make us see the value.
Oh, the one about the eyes. Yeah, it's powerful, almost uncomfortable. They ask you to imagine being offered billions, a huge sum for your eyesight. Would you take it?
Of course not. Instantly no.
Why? Because the ability to see your loved ones' faces or sunrise or just navigate the world, it's priceless. You can't put a number on it.
And yet, the source points out, tomorrow morning we'll wake up and just use our eyes without a second thought. We don't calculate that immense value until it's threatened, do we?
We only see the value when there's a risk of losing it or when it's gone.
And this gets worse in our hyper-connected world, doesn't it?
Sure.
The sources mentioned feeling totally abandoned over something tiny
like someone not immediately replying to your WhatsApp message, that feeling of he didn't even visualize it. It's this expectation that the divine or even just other people should operate like some kind of instant 24/7 call center.
Yeah, the divine call center, waiting for our specific personalized response now.
And the insight is, the problem isn't usually the lack of response from up there, or even from the other person sometimes. The problem is our own inability to read the response that's already been given.
How so?
Well, if you woke up this morning, if the world didn't end, if you have basic functions, the big response, the yes to life, has already been delivered. We're just too busy staring at the unanswered text to notice the, cathedral-sized reply of continued existence.
Wow. Okay. And often, that divine love or protection shows up in ways we just dismiss, right? Like coincidence or luck. The speaker shared some personal stories about that.
Yeah, those anecdotes are great because they're so simple but really illustrate the point. The first one was about a canceled flight. He was waiting for one of those smaller ATR turboprop planes.
The kind that makes some people nervous anyway.
Exactly. And suddenly it's canceled. Reason: a fuel miscalculation. So the gate area erupts, right? People are furious, shouting.
Understandably, maybe.
Yeah, but the speaker was apparently completely calm, just went to get rebooked. Someone asked him why he wasn't angry, and his answer was just perfect. He said, "I would only be angry if the pilot told me about the fuel miscalculation while we were already in the air."
Okay. That totally reframes it. The cancellation isn't an annoyance, it's a protection. An averted disaster.
Precisely. Seeing the potential negative that didn't happen. The second story is even more relatable, I think. Very domestic. He was trying to light his stove, and it just wouldn't catch. Getting frustrated,
Been there.
Right. So he moves a pan, tries again, fiddles with it, and finally, whoosh, it lights. And it's only then that he looks down and sees, what? A bottle of high-proof alcohol spray, like the kind we all used during the pandemic, sitting right next to the burner. Dangerously close.
Oh, wow. And he hadn't consciously moved it away before?
No. The delay, the annoyance of the stove not lighting immediately, that was the protection. It gave him just enough time and distraction to unconsciously or maybe guidedly move things around so he'd notice the danger before causing a fire or worse.
So the little frustrations might actually be shields.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many times today did a minor irritation actually save me from something much bigger? It requires a different kind of attention to see it that way.
Which implies that relating to the divine, like any deep relationship, needs effort. It needs intimacy. It's not passive.
Absolutely. That's the next big point. The Source uses the analogy of a long-term marriage. You don't just get married and coast, right? A good marriage takes constant work. You have to keep conquering and reconquering your partner, understanding them, choosing them every day.
And they use that phrase about eating 1 kilo of salt together.
Yeah, it's a great metaphor for the sheer amount of shared time, shared experiences, weathering storms together that builds deep intimacy. It's not quick. It's this slow accumulation of understanding.
And the speaker shared a personal example about how that communication evolved in his own marriage, right? Especially given his self-admitted challenges.
Yeah, he was quite open about it. Said early on, because he tended to lack a filter, maybe had some ADHD tendencies, his wife literally had to give him a checklist before guests came over.
A checklist, like what?
Rule 1, do not discuss politics. Rule 2, do not comment on their financial situation. Rule 3, compliment the food. A very explicit, almost written down set of instructions for social interaction.
Wow. Like a user manual.
Pretty much. But then fast forward years after they've eaten that kilo of salt together, the communication is totally different. Now he says it's like Bluetooth glance.
Bluetooth glance.
Yeah. A single look across a crowded room, maybe just a slight eyebrow raise, can convey a whole complex message instantly. Like, okay, wrap up this story, or don't engage with that topic, or time to go. All that data travels silently on that connection they build over decades.
That's incredible efficiency, built on deep knowing. But then the Source makes a crucial distinction between that human intimacy, however deep, and the divine relationship.
Right. Because even the closest human relationship, the Source says, is limited by our gigantic quota of unconsciousness. We don't fully know ourselves, so we can never fully know someone else. There are always blind spots.
But with the divine.
The divine relationship, the Source argues, is backed by omniscience. God already knows us completely deeper than we know ourselves. Our flaws, fears, hidden potentials, everything. But, and this is key, the principle of effort still applies on our end. The more effort we put into cultivating that intimacy, that connection, the stronger our felt sense, our conviction becomes that nothing can break it.
But cultivating that intimacy, being present for it, that requires being, well, present. Which brings us smack into the third huge barrier. The way time just seems to tyrannize us. We're always pulled out of the now.
This section is really interesting. It actually uses a literary source, C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters, specifically letter 15, to explain the strategy of distraction. Screwtape, the senior demon, is advising his nephew Wormwood on how to corrupt humans.
And the number one strategy.
Keep them out of the present moment, at all costs. Focus all your energy, Screwtape says, on making them anxious about the future or lost in the past. Just never let them settle into today.
Why is the present so dangerous for the demonic strategy?
Because, Lewis argues, the present is the only point where eternity touches time. It's the only place we can actually act. We can choose to love now. We can forgive now. We can feel gratitude now.
Not yesterday, not tomorrow.
Exactly. And Screwtape warns Wormwood specifically about the past. Why? Because while the past definitely holds trauma, resentment, all that useful negative stuff, it holds one thing that's really dangerous to their cause. Gratitude.
Gratitude for past good things.
Yes, gratitude for the imperfect family that still raised you, the teacher who saw potential, the friend who helped, the meal you ate yesterday. If you let humans dwell on past resentments, they forget past blessings. So keep them focused on the grievance, not the grace.
That's a subtle but powerful manipulation, using regret as a smokescreen for gratitude.
Precisely. You fixate on the one awful thing your parent did, so you conveniently forget the 20 years of food, shelter, and maybe even love they provided. Gratitude must be suppressed.
Okay, so that's the past. What about the future? Why is focusing on tomorrow a problem?
Because the future is always unreal. It hasn't happened. You can't do anything in the future. You can only anticipate it, worry about it, or dream about it. That constant chase for the next thing.
The next series to binge, the next gadget, the next job.
The next relationship, the next party. It's all designed to pull you out of the only place where real life, real connection, real action is possible, which is right now, today.
And we are absolutely living this, aren't we? The sources talk about our current state of constant partial attention, especially with digital tech.
Oh, completely. It's like an environmental condition now. We're physically here, at the dinner table or in a meeting, but mentally, we're only partly present. One eye is always on the phone, the notifications, the feed.
Technologically connected, but actually ignoring each other.
Yeah, functionally ignoring the reality right in front of us, including the people.
And the sources suggest this has real serious consequences. Emotionally severe.
The main one highlighted is a deep lack of effective support, real emotional connection. People feel incredibly isolated even when they have hundreds of friends online. Because when they hit a crisis, when they feel like giving up, they realize nobody's really there. Nobody's truly listening because everyone's only partially paying attention.
That feeling of being fundamentally unseen, even when surrounded by people.
Exactly. And it leads to the sense of despair.
And there's that really alarming statistic the sources mentioned related to all this distraction and comparison.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. The sources cite data showing that apparently for the first time in recorded history, the global average IQ has actually started to decline.
Decline, seriously.
Yeah, and it's not just demographics. It's partly being attributed to the effects of this constant digital noise, the cognitive overload, the endless context switching, and maybe especially the anxiety fueled by social media comparison.
So the way we're living is literally, measurably making us less sharp and more anxious.
That's the implication. Our mental bandwidth is being eaten up by this constant state of partial attention and comparison.
And the comparison itself. The sources are brutal about it, calling it totally destructive because it's built on lies.
It has to be, right? No one posts the messy reality, the failures, the bad hair days. It's all curated. The source uses that fantastic anecdote about Brad Pitt in the movie Troy.
Achilles himself. Peak physical specimen.
You'd think. He looked incredible in that role. But the story goes, when it came to filming scenes where Achilles had to, run or do certain movements, they apparently used a body double for his legs.
Get out. Brad Pitt needed a leg double.
Because his own legs apparently weren't deemed heroic enough or aesthetic enough for the super perfect vision of the movie.
Okay, that's actually kind of mind-blowing. If Brad Pitt's legs need digital enhancement or a stand-in.
Right. What hope does any normal person have comparing their real, unedited life to the filtered, curated perfection they see online? It's chasing a fantasy built on a fantasy.
And the source argues that when we get sucked into that comparison game, we're actively choosing the illusion over the real, available love. We're building the barrier ourselves.
We trade the solid reality for the shiny, hollow fake.
Okay, let's shift from these challenges to how people in the past managed to connect with this divine love in a tangible way. Starting with David the shepherd. How did he anchor this huge concept?
David's story is presented as a beautiful example of this psychological process called anchoring. Basically taking something new, vast, maybe scary and incomprehensible, like the nature of God, and defining it using terms from something old, familiar, and manageable.
And for David, that was shepherding.
Exactly. He was a country guy chosen to be king, but his roots were in tending sheep. So when he tried to talk about his relationship with God, he used the language of his daily work, the geography he knew.
What was his routine like, according to the source?
Well, the land where he lived was dry, arid. So every morning he had to walk his flock quite a distance, maybe 40 minutes, the source suggests, to find pastos verdejantes, green pastures, just so they could eat.
A necessity for survival.
Right. Then, after they grazed in the hot sun, he needed to lead them to aguas tranquilas, calm, quiet waters, places they could drink safely and rest, cool down, refresh their souls, as the psalm puts it.
Okay, provision and rest. But then there's the shortcut.
Ah, yes. Italio. To save time getting back, instead of the long walk around, he'd take a shortcut. And this shortcut went through a very specific kind of place, a narrow valley, a ravine maybe, where the mountains were so close they blocked the sun.
Creating a shadow.
Yeah, a dark, cold, often dangerous place, known for bandits hiding, step drops, predators maybe. This specific geographical place became his powerful metaphor for life's hardships, the valley of the shadow of death.
Not just a poetic phrase, but a real place he walked through.
A real place. And his confidence walking through it wasn't based on wishful thinking. It was based on his tools. The shepherd's rod used for defense, for counting, and the staff used for guiding, for pulling sheep out of ditches.
His tangible means of protection.
Exactly. He anchored the abstract idea of divine protection into the concrete reality of his shepherd's tools. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. It's that deep, grounded faith, born from daily reality, that echoes in Paul's later conviction.
So David used simplicity in the familiar. But the sources then look at Saul, who became Paul, as a very different model, almost like a CEO brought in for a turnaround.
Yeah, it's a fascinating contrast. Choosing Saul seems completely illogical at first glance. Here's a guy who is actively trying to destroy the movement. Highly educated, yes, a student of the great Gamaliel, fiercely committed, but completely on the wrong track.
And Jesus intercepts him right after he'd basically overseen the killing of Stephen. The weight of that guilt must have been immense.
Unimaginable. You realize you've been murdering the very people who hold the truth you were searching for? The source suggests a more infantile response psychologically would be total self-destruction, crushing guilt, self-hatred, maybe even suicide.
Or endless justification, trying to explain it away.
Right. But Paul, when confronted with the truth on that road, he does something remarkable. He bypasses the entire guilt cycle. His immediate response isn't, how could I, or let me explain. It's purely practical.
What was it?
What do you want me to do?
Wow. No wallowing.
Yeah.
Just forward motion, responsibility.
It's presented as the model for genuine transformation. Not justification, not self-flagellation, but immediate pivot towards reparation and action. Okay, I was wrong. What's the new assignment?
And Jesus accepts him. But the sources are clear, it wasn't a promise of an easy ride.
Not at all. Jesus basically lays out the terms of service, and it's rough. It's the path of the cross, not the path of glory, at least not earthly glory.
What were the specifics? What did Paul have to face?
First, a name change. Saul is Hebrew, Paul is Roman, signifying a shift in identity, mission, audience, moving from local to global. Second, total social upheaval. He loses his standing with the Pharisees. They see him as a traitor. And the early Christians, they're deeply suspicious, thinking he's a spy. He loses his entire community.
Complete isolation almost.
Pretty much. Then the physical hardship, constant travel, often by donkey, not exactly first class, shipwrecks, starvation, beatings, imprisonment. It's a brutal list. And the end.
Execution in Rome.
Yeah, tradition holds he was beheaded under Nero, probably blamed, scapegoated for the Great Fire of Rome. So the CEO role came with immense personal cost.
It's a stark reminder that this path isn't about comfort and ease. It's about service, carrying the cross.
That's the core principle hammered home. Your own ego, your ambitions, they have to take a back seat so the larger purpose can work through you. And it was because Paul embraced that, endured all of it, that he could write with such unshakable conviction that nothing, not even the threat of Nero, could separate him from that love.
Okay, so this brings us full circle back to us, the listener. How do we move from being stuck in guilt or distraction to actually living with this sense of responsibility and acceptance?
First, it's about really internalizing that core guarantee again, that nothing, not the political messes dividing families, not ideological fights, not our own past mistakes, not the things we accuse ourselves of late at night, not our deepest shame. None of it actually has the power to cut us off from God's understanding of us.
Which leads to that really pragmatic question the sources pose. If the love is unconditional, who actually benefits when we choose to believe we're unloved or unworthy? Who wins if we isolate ourselves?
Yeah, it's a great question. The source uses that analogy of the parent with warring children. Imagine kids fighting bitterly over, a political flag, demanding the parent reject the sibling. Does the parent stop loving either child because of their immature squabble?
No, of course not. The parent sees the bigger picture, the immaturity.
Exactly. Our human divisions, our flags, our ideologies, they seem huge to us. But from that higher perspective, they don't negate the fundamental love holding everything together.
So the crucial step, according to the spiritual teacher Joanna mentioned in the sources, is deliberately choosing responsibility over guilt.
That's the trade. Guilt keeps you stuck in the past. Blaming, justifying, feeling awful, it's paralyzing. Responsibility looks forward. It asks, okay, that happened. What needs to change now? What action can I take?
So guilt isn't the destination. It's just a signal.
Just a signpost, a little flashing light saying, hey, this area needs attention, this behavior needs changing. You acknowledge the error, the thing causing the guilt, learn from it, and then immediately shift energy into transforming your future actions. Don't set up camp in Guiltville.
And often that transformation requires forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Which is maybe the hardest part. How did the sources define forgiveness here?
They're very clear. It's not about saying what the other person did was okay or minimizing the hurt. It's not about reconciliation necessarily. It's primarily an act of self-liberation.
Liberating yourself.
Yeah. You're making a conscious decision to snip the cord of suffering that ties your present well-being to their past actions or ongoing negativity. You're saying, I refuse to carry the burden of what you did anymore. I won't let it poison my life today. It's for you.
That's a powerful distinction. You do it to free yourself.
And the sources link it directly to spiritual connection. Remember that teaching. Before you pray, forgive. Don't ask the universe or God for something like peace or release that you're unwilling to offer others or even yourself.
Okay, so responsibility, forgiveness.
Yeah.
What's the final step to really letting that love in?
Dropping the act, taking off the masks, removing the filters. You have to let go of the carefully constructed image, the prince or princess persona we project, especially online, where everything's always perfect and successful.
And the source uses that wonderful song lyric to illustrate this. Get Gil.
Yeah, a song from the 70s. Apparently Roberto Carlos didn't want to record it initially, maybe too raw. But the lyrics are key. If I want to speak with God, I have to be alone. I have to untie the knots of ties and shoes.
Get undressed, basically. Metaphorically.
Exactly. Show up stripped down, no fancy clothes, no prepared speeches, no filter, no mask. Not the victim narrative, not the accuser narrative, just you. Raw and real.
Which brings us to that stark contrast between the public face and the private reality.
The ultimate reality check, right. Think about Google searches. Publicly, on Instagram, living our best life, #blessed. Privately, alone at 2 a.m., the Google searches, how to save my marriage, or why do I feel so empty?
And the source argues God isn't found in the shiny public post.
No. God or truth or connection is found in the raw honesty of the private search. The admitted pain, the vulnerability, the need, that's the point of contact. That's the tap, as they put it.
When you stop pretending.
And when you stop looking sideways. Stop comparing your instrument in the orchestra, maybe you play the triangle, to the first violinist or the concert pianist. Just focus on playing your part, even if it's just the silences, the pauses, as perfectly and honestly as you can. That's when the music works. That's when the connection happens.
Wow. This has been quite a journey, blending these deep spiritual ideas with really practical psychology. It feels like the main takeaway is this love, this acceptance, it's always there, like the sun. But we build the roof that blocks it out. We choose guilt, we choose distraction, past or future, and that's the barrier.
That's it perfectly. The divine plan, the potential for our lives, it's usually so much bigger and better than our own small, fearful dreams. But we have to get out of our own way to let it unfold. We have to stop letting accusation and shame be the main characters in our story.
So that final thought the sources leave us with, confronting that biggest lie, the feeling that we're smaller than others, fundamentally flawed, unworthy. If this immense love already knows everything, our worst moments, our secret fears, our embarrassing Google searches, and still says yes, then what's the one act of courage, of just raw self-acceptance that you need to take right now to start tearing down that wall you built yourself?
That's the question. That's where the real work begins. Until next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day.